Tonight, we're going to be speaking about how we build a business by understanding the compensation plan. And this is a very exciting topic for me. A lot of things that we talk about might seem repetitive, but you know what? The reason why they are repetitive is because there's no mystery. There's no new things to learn. There's only understanding the basics. And when you understand these basics, my job is to present them and give you as many perspectives so that at one point you get the aha that switches on and you get the whole picture of kind of how I perceive it. So we're going to be starting off by always making sure that you begin your day with your Alpha business, always with your dream and your motivation. Never forget that. And if your dream or your passion for what you want to accomplish in your life isn't strong enough, then my suggestion is do the work and find that part of your life that you're really going after. I personally think of living life as big as possible. And I always just have this idea in my mind to live as infinitely and as big as possible. I always start every single day my business. I wake up in the morning. This is how I kind of look at life all the time. Just living it and accomplishing the biggest game that I want possible. Now, normally we are referred to in the compensation plan about 13 ways that we're going to get paid. But the more important chart to look at is the compensation plan itself. Now, I know when I first saw this, I was quite overwhelmed, but I'm going to make this very simple for you because I have to tell you, when I understood all the nuances of this plan, herein lies the whole roadmap to your success. And it is my hopes that when you understand some key components of this compensation plan, that it'll put you immediately into action. Now, the three pin ranks that we're going to focus on in the beginning are our silver, our gold, and our sapphire. If you notice, these three pin ranks, you can see that you can do this all in 2 legs. And what I mean by that is with 2 personally signed distributors alone, you can reach that level. As a matter of fact, you can go all the way to emerald in 2 legs alone. But the important thing that I want you to realize about these 3 levels, about when you first come in as a member, you automatically are at that silver level. Getting to gold takes a certain action, and getting to sapphire takes a certain action. And to me, these are the most critical actions to understand. To put it very simple, to become a gold, you need at least 500 bonus values in your group volume. And if you are a gold, you're making anywhere between $50 to $199, $1 shy of sapphire. Now, I would like everybody, while you're listening to this, to type in what level you are at now. Where are you? Are you at a gold? Are you at a sapphire? Or are you at a ruby? I want you to write that in now just so I can have an idea of where you all are at. And then we're going to talk very specifically. Now, you might ask me, how did I figure the amount of monies that we would make at those levels? Well, experience. I can tell you that if your group volume is at about 200 and you're realizing anywhere between 15 to 5%, that averages out to about 7%. And if you add all of your weekly bonuses and all of your leadership bonuses, as an emerald, I've been noticing that my check is pretty averaging at 10% minimum of that group volume. So if you're a gold member and you've written gold down, you should be getting a check every month with all your weeklies that's anywhere between $50 to $199, or sapphire $200 to $699. Now, let's talk a little bit about the gold level. I am sure, without looking, that most of you here are at least at a gold level. And anybody who comes on the business for the first time by signing up 2 personally signed distributors, 1 at builder and 1 at leader, that would qualify you to gold right off the bat. And you should know that. You should know that to get to the gold level, you can do it with 2 distributors alone, 1 coming in at builder leader. Or if you were to sign up 3 distributors at a builder level, you would hit that same number. You would hit gold right off the bat. Now, why is that important to understand? Well, number one, it pays for your auto ship, which means from this point forward, the minute you hit gold, you no longer have an overhead for your Alpha business regarding your auto ship. Pretty cool, right? But not only does it pay for your auto ship, it also activates your carryover volume and it activates your weekly commissions just by hitting gold. I would say hitting gold is one of the most critical things that you want to make your personally signed distributors aware of and as a priority. Hitting that gold level. Why? Number one, it pays for their auto ship, it activates their carryover volume, and it activates their weekly commissions. So if you remember last week, we went over a little bit of a simplified system. It immediately satisfies what I consider the three most important steps of your business. So every time you do your business, you should always make sure that you are checking that you are active for that week so that your carryover volume is not being lost, and that you are making sure if you have one personally signed distributor on each leg that you're getting weekly commissions. Now, if you do not have two distributors at this point, one in each leg, then that should be your immediate goal, to be able to activate those weekly commissions. And that's because you want to be able to start earning money as fast as possible. Because the faster you earn that money, the more you're going to stay in the game. So as you remember when we reviewed this last week, here's a person who has just remained active with an auto ship. They have no personally signed distributors, but as you see on the lower right, they are retaining their carryover volume. It is mounting up and it is being saved. It is not being cut by 50% from not being active. And then here's a person who has a person on each side. So therefore, they are getting weekly commissions. And as you see, this person has a strong carryover volume accumulating on the left side. That would be his power leg. But look at where all his commissions are coming in every single week on the right side with new business coming in. So it is very important that hitting gold begins to set the basic structure of how you're going to get weekly paid commissions. Now, we didn't get an opportunity to go over this last week, but it's something you want to understand. Because the placement tree, really, other than the things I've just covered, you don't want to put more attention on it until you've taken care of one other factor. And we're going to go over that factor today, just so you have an awareness. When your sponsor brought you on, you were one of his two legs. In other words, you were either on his right side or his left side. As a matter of fact, your sponsor was also from their sponsor either on the right leg or the left leg. And what you want to know is that this is because everybody that you sponsor gets reorganized into two legs in order to calculate weekly commissions. And you'll see why I'm going to tell you this in a minute. So when you begin to bring on two people, you'll see that in order to get paid your weekly commissions, you need one on the right side and one on the left side. That will immediately activate your commissions. But the question is now, where do you put your third one? Where do you put your fourth one? Well, this is a very important part of where you have to work this out with your sponsor. And here's why. When their sponsor, whoever sponsored your sponsor, brings in their new person, you'll see that they're going to put them in a designated spot. In this case, on your sponsor's left side. Your sponsor is going to start filling in you on the right side. Why? Because their sponsor told them the following. They said, I'm going to fill up your left side while you fill up your right side. And you will want to work this same thing out with your sponsor. So when it comes to you now, your sponsor will instruct you, your first sign up there. Your sponsor has already placed somebody on the right side, but in order to get paid weekly commissions, you'll have to put somebody on that side. But your sponsor will fill up whoever that person is. So you never have to worry about the person on the right side that you put in, because your sponsor will continue to fill up people under them. This will allow you to focus totally on your left side in this case, where your first sign up will go there, your next sign up will go there. Actually, your next sign up will actually go on the other side, but in actuality, your signups will from here on in go on your left side. So this is something that you want to work out with your sponsor. And when you have this all worked out on which side to place them, you're going to go to your back office and you will simply say, where it says placement, you're simply going to say, from here on in, I will fill everybody on my left side or everybody on my right side, whatever you work out with your sponsor. So make sure that you do that with your sponsor. And once you do this, you will never, ever have to think of your placement tree again. In other words, hopefully you will now focus on what we're now going to focus on, which is your uni-level tree. This is where everything happens. This is where everything happens in terms of building your organization. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to do it. Here's how I want you to start thinking, because if you don't psychologically begin thinking the right way, it can seem like an insurmountable task. But here's what I want you to understand. If those of you who are gold, wrote down gold, then you can guarantee one thing, that if you were able to hit gold, you can certainly create one. And that's what I want you to put in your mind. In other words, if you've never hit sapphire, don't think or don't even think about creating people to get the sapphire at this moment. Just focus on what you already did. And I want you to take this philosophy and this psychology all the way up to whatever pin rank you are. Now, to get to gold, look what happens. When you can get 4 distributors get to gold, you become sapphire. And those 4 distributors can be your levels 1, 2, or 3. They do not necessarily have to be people you signed on. You can have 2 distributors who signed up 1 distributor, and by helping all 4 of those distributors in those 2 legs, you were able to get them to gold. So by helping all 4 of those people get to gold, you are pushed up to sapphire. Now, this is a very critical difference in when you went from gold to sapphire. When you became gold, you did not rely on anybody having to become a pin rank. You were able to do that by simply signing up new PSDs. But from this point forward, in order to advance in pin ranks, the only way you can do it, the only efficient way you can do it, is to now help the people that you brought in to get where you were when you brought them in. And if you can understand this critical point, this point will take you all the way up to Keymaster. So when you are able to help 4 distributors in your organization, and as long as those 4 distributors are fitting in a minimum of 2 legs, you automatically become a sapphire, where your paycheck is now risen from $200 to anywhere from $699. Now, this is what you should start saying when you are sapphire. If you're a sapphire, you can create golds and sapphires. So if you're a solid sapphire right now, you should be able to know with total certainty that you can get people to either a gold or sapphire. Can you guarantee people that you can get them to ruby or emerald? No, because you didn't do it. You haven't done it yet. You don't know what it took. Can you guarantee people financial freedom? No, you cannot. Can you guarantee them that you can get them to gold or sapphire? Yes, because you did it. And you need to retrace your steps on how you did it and teach that. And you need to take this psychology one step at a time. This is how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, okay? You start by promising your PSDs that you can get them to the level that you are at. So if we look at these 3 levels, the transition that you make from the gold to sapphire is, in my opinion, the most critical level you can take, because it will now set up the psychology of how to take it further. And here's how. Sapphire is the first pin rank where you help others get to gold. Mastering creating sapphires in your organization is how you've mastered how to grow to key master. And this is how I want you to start thinking. I want you to master creating sapphires. Because you shall see, if you can get this transition from gold to sapphire, you have the right psychology in your thinking. So if you are a sapphire, guess what? You can create gold and other sapphires. And what does this mean? Well, here's now where you can begin to look at ruby and emerald. Now, when I first saw ruby at 7,000 BV, I said to myself, wow, that's almost 3 times the amount of sapphire. But I cannot begin to tell you how within 2 months, I hit ruby without even trying. Why? Because I was helping people get to where I was. As a matter of fact, if you look at ruby, you only need 2 legs. And if we take it even further, you only need 2 legs for emerald. But what I'm going to recommend is if you help 4 distributors in your organization, whether they're in your 4 legs or 2 legs, it doesn't matter. That's the only way you can get to ruby. Okay? 4 times 2,000 is 8,000. You actually go above ruby. And you know what's cool about becoming a ruby? You can now guarantee to your people that you can create golds, sapphires, and rubies. Guys, do you see the difference in psychology and how I'm asking you to think? I want you to start thinking where you are at and beginning to take the certainty of where you are at and bringing your people no more than that. And as you do that, it will push you to the next level where you can now promise and deliver a new ascension of pay pin rank. Let's look at emerald now. We have about 4 emeralds right now in our organization, if not more. Very small number. If you are a ruby on this call tonight and you get 4 distributors to ruby, which you can do, you hit emerald just like that. That's how you do it, guys. Are you seeing that even though it's going to be advantageous to you to get in the habit of always bringing on new people, that the majority of your training has to result in getting the people that you already have on to achieve the pin rank levels that you already did. And that is doable. So if you are emerald, guess what, guys? You can create golds, sapphires, rubies, and emeralds in your organization. So I want you to look at the system simplified, okay? Begin your outlay business daily with your dream. Check that you are active to retain your weekly carryover. Check your weekly commissions are activated with an active PSD in both your right and left legs of your placement tree. And the next is to list, expose, follow up, and sort for new customers and PSDs. I do not believe there's ever a time you stop doing this, okay? But the difference is the higher rank you go, the more time you spend on helping the people you brought in to get where you are, and you make bringing in new people secondary to that action. Very important. You work with your PSDs to reach the pin rank you are at. That's how I want you to think of this system simplified. Now I want to talk a little bit about what we reviewed last week about our making a list, exposing, following up, sorting to a yes, no, maybe. Because guys, we never stop doing this, whether we're emerald, keymaster, and think about this. The more successful you become, the more easier this becomes. It becomes a lot easier when you are ruby, emerald, diamond, or keymaster, because you have more credibility, you have more experience, you have more of an inspiration to people to do what you're doing. This is a little bit of what we went. Just want to review very quickly. We list, expose, we follow up, we sort into a yes, no, maybe. Our yeses we immediately convert into a PSD or customer. Our no's We thank them, we keep them posted, we get referrals. Our maybes, best time to set up a three-way call, only to get a yes or maybe and put them in one of the other two categories. So you never want to forget this sequence. Now, last week, we did do a talk on Gmail and how we use Google Forms. Google Forms is a great business tool in your Gmail account that allows you to enter and collect names and information into a master list using your computer, iPad, and iPhone. Google Forms can be all put on your devices, and additionally, all your Google Forms fit into a Google Sheet, which can be shared between you and your sponsor. And I hope at the end of this call or this training to have one of our distributors come in and talk about the experience she has had and me helping her set up and working with her on these Google Forms and Sheets. Now, the Google Sheets, it's an Excel type spreadsheet in our Gmail account that collects all of your form entries and keeps them stored as a central file. And you want to have thousands of these names. And this keeps growing and growing. The beautiful thing about Google Sheets, they're shared with others. So once you've created, you can now share and review your list with your sponsor to begin the process of exposing to your list. Now, a lot of people have said, will my sponsor contact these people without me? Of course not. You would never want to break that line of trust with your downline in terms of contacting them without you want your sponsor to see your list so that they can guide you and help you strategize how to talk. And like I say, at the end of this talk, we'll talk a little bit about how we do that. How do you expose? First of all, you eventually want to expose people on your list, but we also are going to use the list not so much to take everybody and expose them, but to extract very specific people to expose in a priority. Make sure that we do it in a duplicatable way. In other words, we use a video or a PDF. And my opinion, we should only ever send one exposure at a time, never more than one. We never want to overwhelm our prospects with so much information that they just have too many questions or they just don't bother or have the time to look at it. So we'll be talking a little bit more about in another training how to do exposures, how to strategize with the list that you have. The next most valuable thing, and this is three-way calling. Think about this, guys. Ask yourself this. Do you find it would be easier to prospect somebody that you know or to do a three-way call and help prospect somebody that your downline knows? Which would be easier for you? I can guarantee that most of you will say, well, gosh, I don't know that person, but I could certainly help them, prospect for my downline. And, what's beautiful about three-way calling is it kind of gets you off the hook with your friends, and it allows you to do the prospecting for your downline and allows you to be more impartial and less detached to that relationship to where you can be more effective in being a team member for that downline. It actually allows your downline to relax and let you do all the prospecting for them. So three-way calling is an important part of how you build your business. One of the biggest mistakes that we make in our business is we sign somebody up, we tell them to make a list, and we tell them, go show the plan. Guys, that's just not how it works. We have to have them make a list that we can see, number one, that they're doing that, and then number two, they have to be willing to share that list with us so that we can now strategize how to do exposures and then three-way calls with that person. We actually have to roll up our sleeves and get that person to go level as fast as possible. And the biggest mistake we make is by not doing it with them. We expect that somehow they should be able to do it all by themselves. And it just doesn't work that way. When I first came into this business, I would have to say within my first 2 months, I signed up 20 to 24 people in my first 2 months. Every single one of those 24 did a three-way call with my sponsor, Scott. Every single one. There was not one person that I ever brought in. Do you know why? Because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know. I had no idea how to prospect. But Scott did. Scott did all the talking for me. And because of that, I became, well, back then they didn't have Sapphire or Ruby, but I think I became a Ruby within 3 months, just because I had my sponsor do all the talking. And I'll never forget the day when I could call up Scott and say, Scott, you're fired. I see how you do it now. I can now do what you did to me. I can now do that for my downline. So it's very important, guys, that you realize that when you sign someone up and you get them to make a list, that you now have to go with them and either three-way call or through telephone or through a web, or even with them in person if they live in your location, and speak to their prospects with them. So that is our system simplified. I don't know if it can get any easier. This compensation plan is only going to make sense to you when you have fully understood every detail of this compensation plan. Now, I give a training called the Inner Game of Alpha, which goes in detail through this entire plan so that you can understand how it works. Because once I understood how it works, this compensation plan became my roadmap for building my business. It told me exactly what to do next every single time. We start by bringing one person into the business. From that one, we get them to make a list. We help them expose. We talk to their people through three-way call. And we get 3 members at least to where they become a gold. We get those 3 people to do the same thing. And that is the doorway to doing our business.